welcome to Derry Community Television. My name is Kimberley Haas. Today we're at the Department of Safety's 75th anniversary. I'm joined by Colonel Robert Quinn. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing good, and thanks for joining us today.
Now, maybe you could tell the audience at home a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what's happening here today.
Well, I am the State Police Director, and today we're having a static display of our specialized units and showing the public what makes up the State Police. We've got a few very important booths out here, highway safety. We're trying to do a little bit of showcasing what we have, but some education on what we think are important. And obviously highway safety is extremely important, and I'm glad you joined us at the highway safety booth.
Well, thank you very much. And what are some of the things that are the educational points that you're trying to emphasize here today? Is it seatbelt safety, driving while sober? What's the most important point?
It's everything, but I would say as you stand around here today for the young operators, obviously it's alcohol and drug driving are the number one causal factors of fatal car crashes, but we want to hit it all. We want to emphasize safety is the key. Everybody wants to get to their destination safely. Nobody wants to get seriously injured in a car crash. So we're trying to get the message out. Distraction kills. Seatbelts save lives. Take your time. Don't speed. Don't drive aggressively. Be a courteous driver.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel Quinn. We really appreciate it. We'll take a peek around at all of these great displays, and we thank you for your time.
I think you'll be impressed with the troopers that you're going to see and meet today. Thank you.
So this is Trooper Mike Bernston. Mike, maybe you can explain for us what you have behind here. It looks like a pretty interesting contraption to the naked eye.
It is. What you have here is a cutout of a vehicle. It simulates a rollover type accident, which is the worst kind of accident you can possibly have in a vehicle. In the vehicle are two adults, one wearing a seatbelt, one not wearing a seatbelt, and two children in child seats. One of the children's is unbuckled. And it shows you what happens in a rollover accident without the seatbelt, and we'll start that now. When the car rolls over, there's no way for a person to control where they are in the vehicle and what's happening. And if you're not wearing a seatbelt, you will harm not only yourself, but other people in the vehicle because you can't control it. And then you could get thrown from the vehicles, as the dummies were in this case, and a lot of fatals have occurred because people aren't wearing seatbelts, where if they had been wearing a seatbelt, they would have lived.
Right, so this really emphasizes for people at home what it means to wear your seatbelt and why it's so important to wear your seatbelt. You could see pretty quickly, as soon as the car started to roll over, that a small child was thrown from the back seat, and really the only person that stayed safely in place was the dummy that was wearing a seatbelt.
Yes, and the thing is, though, the person wearing the seatbelt would be impacted by the person who's being thrown around the vehicle. So when you aren't wearing a seatbelt, you can harm other people, not just yourself.
We're here with the seatbelt convincer, and this simulates a parking lot crash about 5 miles an hour. They estimate 5 to 7. So if you put your seatbelt on, we can run you through it.
Yep, just pull it across like a regular seatbelt. Gotta go slow. Yep, there you go. Now pull it snug. All right. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna release it. And when I let you go, just keep your mouth closed, just in case on the impact, so you don't bite your tongue or lip. All right.
And this is a typical parking lot speed accident.
So this is a typical parking lot speed accident, and that's what, like 10 to 15 miles an hour?
It's much lower. It's about 5 to 7 miles an hour, and that's what it will simulate when it's ready to go. Ready? Go ahead. Here it comes.
really hurt if I wasn't wearing a seatbelt.
That's right.
So you bring this to different schools in the area to show the kids.
We do. We bring it to the schools, to the state shows, any place that it's requested, and it's all provided through a federal grant.
And you can really tell the difference that the seatbelt makes, especially upon impact. It saves me from being injured, and it will certainly save you at home from being injured. So make sure you buckle up. Even in those parking lots, you don't want to be caught off guard.
That's correct. Well, we've got an assortment of boats from some of the larger boats that you'll see on our seacoast, as well as Lake Winnipesaukee. Medium-sized boats, which you see on Lake Sunapee, Squam Lake, Newfound. And then we have what we refer to as field boats that are towed by our officers that you'll see throughout the rest of the state, from Big Island Pond in Derry to Canopy Lake to the Connecticut Lakes in Pittsburgh.
How many boats are in the Marine Patrol?
We've got a little over 100 vessels statewide. Not all of them see the water, depending on our staffing from year to year. We employ, the majority of our patrol force is seasonal employees. And so depending upon those numbers will dictate on the number of boats we have out.
Now, what kind of training do the gentlemen and ladies go through in order to be part of the Marine Patrol?
They're graduates of the State Part-Time Police Academy. They then go to the Marine Patrol Academy, which focuses more on specifically to boating law as well as boat operation. And usually they're hired. We're actually recruiting, had a testing this morning. We're looking for applicants as we speak. And they'll attend the academy in January. And our goal is to have them on the water by the 4th of July.
Very neat. Now, what are some of the average things that the Marine Patrol does? I mean, most people don't know specifically what you do, but what's the majority of the work?
Majority of the work is boating law enforcement. It's law enforcement on the water. A lot of the laws are similar. They apply to boats versus motor vehicles. We investigate accidents. We investigate drownings. We are also the department that certifies people to operate motorboats through our boating education, mandatory boating education law. We issue permits for slalom courses, water events, fishing tournaments, and like I say, routine patrol, public relations, going into the schools talking about boating safety and water safety.
Very neat. So you do quite a bit. A lot of it, like you said, is law enforcement, but some of it is more of the safety issues. And
correct.
So if somebody wanted you to go into a school, how would they contact your agency?
They can contact the Marine Patrol. Our headquarters is in Guilford. And we would be happy to, depending upon what they're looking for, we would actually send either our boating education program instructors out or an officer, depending upon the type of program they're looking for. If it's down on the seacoast, we have year-round patrol on the seacoast. We could send our seacoast officers in, and if it's a homeland security type interest, we can address that as well.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Captain. We really appreciate it. Make sure you stay safe on our waters.
He will bite you! Last chance, get down the ground, son! He will bite you!
Wow.
Let's go! Yeah, that's a good boy! That's a good boy! He's not gonna come up here! Stop! Hey, whoa. Hey. Stop right there, I'll send my dog. Stop. That one's gonna hurt.
Can you feel any of that? Oh yeah.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the canine demonstration that we just saw and why the canine program is so important here in the state of New Hampshire.
In the canine demonstration that we just had a couple minutes ago, we saw 4 teams work obedience and do bite work. Obedience, narcotic work, and do bite work. Apprehension of a suspect outside the vehicle, apprehension of a suspect inside the vehicle. We did a couple long sends. In the 4 dogs we had today are both patrol narcotic dogs. So with the patrol aspect, it covers their obedience, agility, tracking, evidence recovery, and bite work. They also are narcotic dogs, and with the narcotic aspect, it covers narcotic detection of marijuana, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, crack cocaine, ecstasy, and their derivatives. And the dogs are trained to alert on odor in outside areas, packages, parcels, vehicles of mass transit, being buses, planes, boats, and also vehicles.
Now, how does a trooper's training different if they are working with a dog compared to not working with a dog?
Everyone you saw today take part in the demo, whether they were doing the decoying or actually working the dogs today, are troopers. So we're all troopers firsthand. You must complete 3 years of service with the state police, and you put in a request to become on the canine unit. To get on the canine unit, there's a physical fitness test and a structured oral board. And a completion of the physical fitness and structured oral board, a list of candidates gets composed, it's submitted to the colonel, and they make the decision as far as to get on the unit. Now, to get on the unit, there's a strict selection process for the handler. There's also a strict selection process for the dogs. We test the dogs in all different environments. We test their courage, we test their skill, their prey and defense, and we test them in all different environments. We actually weed out more dogs than we actually select. Majority of our dogs we're getting from vendors within the United States, but come from outside the United States. Most of them coming from Europe itself, Europe or Czech Republic or Slovakia. And that should be seen industry-wide. Not too many dogs, unless they're actually breeding within the United States itself, but most of the dogs we're getting are from overseas that are imported, and then we buy them from importers. With the training that encompasses, once the handler is selected and once the dog is selected, we match them as far as a team. We don't train the dog, we don't train the handler per se. We actually train them to work together as a team. The patrol training is for 16 weeks of full-time training, which I said encompasses their obedience. Without obedience, we can't move on to the next discipline. So 85% of the work we do is obedience. And then I'd say on top of that, we do tracking. Tracking is finding, dogs are trained to follow human scent, whether it being a lost individual, a person maybe have taken off from a crime, a person or a wanted subject that may be looking for. So that's another big portion we do. Also, we do agility. Agility is basically a dog's playground, and we teach them to overcome obstacles and hurdles in the training environment. So when they see it in the field, they won't be seeing it for the first time. And then evidence recovery, where they're looking for evidence from being part of a crime, may have just, been thrown on the ground as a person running. All of our dogs have found evidence that has been part of crimes. Person may be apprehended, they may have a suspect in place. We go and we canvass the area and have come up with evidence in the past. And then you saw what you saw today. We saw the bite work, the patrol work. What you saw today in the demo is not what we start with. This is a culmination of a lot of hard work and man hours they put in. The patrol school, I said, is 16 weeks. The narcotics school is another 8 weeks. And that's full-time, Monday through Friday. And then on top of that, once the initial training is completed and the dogs are certified, we do 16 hours of patrol and 8 hours of detection. So 16 hours of patrol work that you saw here today, and then 8 hours of detection, whether the detection being narcotic or human remains detection. We have one of the only police human remains detector dogs in the state, and we're currently actually looking to put on a couple more this year.
Wow, it's very, very fascinating, the entire program. Now, I heard a couple of the kids in the crowd asking some questions, and one of the ones that I picked up on was, where do the doggies live after they've been trained?
Great question. Where do the dogs live? I spend more time with my partner, my dog, than I do with my family. I go to work, he's with me. He's with me in the back of the car. We have a kennel in the back of our car. He's always with us. And when we go home, he's with us. But that being said, as an agency, we don't have our dogs live part of the household. Because of what you saw as a training here, it's the only tool law enforcement have that thinks and breathes on its own. So what that dog may perceive as a threat, what that dog may perceive, and our dogs are crazy for items like, such as toys and balls. So because of the training we put them, our dogs are at home, they're kenneled. They're kenneled animals. The division supplies each handler with a kennel on their property and a kennel for inside of the house for extreme weather conditions. So the dogs are kenneled. They don't have free run of the house. They don't have free run of the property because they are true. They're a work animal, and they need to be treated that way.
Yes, and certainly we should respect these animals very much. They are working very, very hard to protect us and our community. They're not like our dogs and cats that we have at home. Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the insight into the program. Now, of course, many of you at home recognize Bob Letourneau. Bob, maybe you can tell everybody in the Derry community what you've been up to, how you've been working with highway safety in order to make the road safer for motorcyclists.
Yes, thank you very much. Very, very proud to be part of the New Hampshire Highway Safety Plan, and I'm honored to be able to do this. The motorcycle training courses in New Hampshire are very, very popular, and we've trained a lot of riders. Over the past 23 years, we have trained 44,000 riders. Of those riders, very few of them have been involved in fatal accidents, something in the order of 15. That is a very, very high safety record. All the rest of the fatalities have no proper training. So proper training really is a lifesaver. This facility here is a smart trainer. It's somewhat like a simulator, but it's not a simulator. It's called a smart trainer because what it does is introduce the hazards that you would probably encounter while riding on the road. And the motorcycle trainer I'm aiming it at the 40 to 60-year-old riders that are coming back into the sport after being away for a few years. You know, what happens is you rode when you were in college, you're in high school, you got married, you raised a family, you bought a house, the kids are out of college, the house is paid off, you got extra money, you go out and buy your dream motorcycle. You need to be retrained. You really do need to be retrained. And I call it the three-legged stool. Number one, you're a little bit older, so you have less range of motion, you have poorer eyesight, your hearing is not as good, and your reaction times is slower. That's the first leg. The second leg is the motorcycle. The motorcycle is faster, it's heavier, it's got better tires, better brakes, and you can get out of your skill set in a real hurry. And the third leg of the stool is the conditions on the highway. There are more distracted driving today than ever before. And never before. People are texting, they're talking on cell phones, they're playing with GPSs, they're changing the disc in their car. Motorcyclists are very, very vulnerable if you're not paying attention. And what we try to do in our training courses to teach them defensive driving. It keeps you alive. So we should go in and look at the smart trainer.
Yes, we certainly should. Let's go take a peek at that motorcycle simulator inside that Bob has for us to check out.
You'll see as we go through the tunnel here, when you come out the other side, there'll be some fog. And you got a couple people walking in the middle of the road. You have to go around them. Now you come around this corner here in a dense fog, and there may be another hazard inside the fog. You really need to slow down. Here we go. So there's something happening here. See a guy backed right out in the road. And these are the kind of things that you would actually see and occur while you're on a ride.
now we are with Howard Hedegaard at the New Hampshire Driving Toward Zero table. Howard, maybe you can explain for the people at home what this project is and how you're involved.
Sure. The Driving Toward Zero program is really an absolutely new, just matter of months old, but exciting coalition effort to somehow reduce the number of fatalities, lives lost in crashes, to zero. People would say, no, that's not possible, it can't be done. Well, when you look at why, what really is causing the majority anyway of the fatal crashes and all crashes, it can be done, and we're determined to make it happen. This is a coalition involving state agencies, the private sector, the community, everybody and anybody who has any commitment to highway safety, and we're working together. So we're determined it will happen. My role, I'm the highway safety specialist at the Injury Prevention Center at Dartmouth, and we are deeply involved with teen driving issues because that's a big part of the problem on our highways, needless to say. We're involved with just promoting the use of seatbelts in general. Way too many people are not wearing their belts yet. 81% of the folks who lost their lives in crashes in New Hampshire last year, for example, were not belted. So we're determined to get that message out as part of this whole effort of driving towards zero.
Yeah, there's some critical focus areas. It's not just, seatbelt safety, which of course is a major critical area and will really help prevent highway fatalities, but it's also, elder driving, impaired driving. So if you haven't gone online and checked out the great website, nhdtz.com, make sure that you do so you can see what's being worked on and you can also take the pledge.
Absolutely. If each and every one of us would just to make that commitment to not be part of the problem, but instead be part of the solution, we can make it happen.
Now I'm with Jim Esden. He's going to walk us through this simulator that they have set up. You can test yourself under distracted driving circumstances and impaired driving circumstances. I'm going to try distracted driving.
Okay, so if you can just take your mouse right over there and just click right on the distracted right there. It's also a touch screen, so you can go ahead and touch it if you prefer. Rather than using your own phone, though that is an option, we'll just use the on-screen phone. When it gets to be time, you'll be able to you'll see the phone come over there on the side. You can either use the mouse to click on, or you can use the touch screen. This button right here, used to scan left when you actually see a road. This one to scan right. These are your turn signals, on and then off. Down here you have your accelerator and your brake. The brake is very touchy. Keep an eye on your speed and just follow her directions. So just go down there and take a left. And I think the speed limit through here is 35. Do you want to use the mouse to make your call, or do you want to just touch the screen? It's right at the top there. It should be a 916. And then 941, is it?
Take her right at the light.
And that's the idea of doing well. We emphasized, especially to the younger drivers, just how taking your attention from the road, even for a little bit, can interfere with good driving. So you can either type home or work.
Oh, and there I got pulled over.
Okay.
I never stopped at the sign.
So that's the fun part. They all get to do that. But now the messaging comes through. And on this one, there'll be some written messages. If you had crashed, you might have had a helicopter come in and take you away. If you had hurt somebody, then you would have gone before a judge. And you would have had a victim's statement that would have had to have been read, all kinds of things. The software really tries to simulate what would actually occur. There's also a series of 5 videos on here on the importance of buckling up, the importance of not driving under the influence, and a few other things. And so we've got the software not just for the distracted, but for the impaired. And it's being used all over the state. We've got 4 of these are available for folks to use wherever they'd like to. Mostly in schools, though. And a lot of times they're being used out in the spring. So.
Very cool. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
very much for this simulation, and it just goes to show how important it is that you're paying attention at all times on the road. Distracted driving, of course, is a leading cause in different crashes throughout the state, and we're trying to prevent those. So make sure you keep your eyes on the road and your hands on the wheel and your cell phone tucked safely away.